baseman, Nick Bosma. Number 10, out of Cincinnati, Ohio, second baseman. By Rams Wrestling.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars to the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch, were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that her flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Let's play ball. He told me something you didn't want to say. Rather
Hello, folks, and thanks for joining us once again at Colburn Park. I'm Dan Cooter here on NewarkPilots.tv, and it's a out-of-division matchup tonight as a unfamiliar foe comes to town as the Watertown Rapids in their inaugural season make their first trip to Newark to take on the Pilots tonight. Last night, the Rapids were successful on home turf as they defeated the Pilots 12-6. Pilots will try to turn the tide tonight as they go to their left-hander, Matt Walczak from Levittown, Pennsylvania. He plays at Lincoln Memorial, and he'll get this start tonight as we are ready for first pitch from here at Colburn Park. A beautiful evening here for some baseball as it's Julian Courage leading things off. Shows a quick bunt but lays off, and he'll take strike one to Walczak. Courage from Middletown, Delaware. Plays at Wilmington. And a big cut here as he's quickly behind 0-2 to start things off tonight. Watertown, who was on a 6-game losing streak before the victory last night, was able to end the skid. Walczak tosses one outside to Ty Babin, who's the catcher tonight for the Pilots, and it's a 1-2 count to Courage now. Big swing and a miss, and Walczak gets the K to start things off here tonight.
Now batting out of Covington, Los Angeles, number 6, shortstop, William Burton.
It's the shortstop, William Hurton from Covington, Louisiana, who will stride in now for the Rapids. Hurton in the second spot. We just saw Courage the leadoff man tonight. It's Michael Russell who's in the third spot, and then in the cleanup is the DH, Kenny Bergman. Hurton fouls this one off down the third baseline. Nolan Wilson from Atlanta, Georgia will be in the fifth spot, followed by Bailey Lewis, Nick Bosma, and Trevor Kunnel. In the ninth spot, and rounding out the order, is Samuel Neal. This one chopped down to the third baseman, Serfolio, able to catch it on the hop, to throw over to first, and there's quickly 2 retired now here in the top of the first as we're just underway here at Colburn Park.
Now batting out of Staten Island, New York, number 32, third baseman, Mitchell Russell.
The Rapids, as we mentioned, were able to get off that 6-game slide, but they're 2-8 in their last 10, and they come in seen at 16-14 on the year. For much of the year, they were the second best team, only trailing the Jamestown Jammers, who have compiled 20 wins. But it's Mohawk Valley, the defending perfect game champions, that have turned up the heat of late as they're 8-2 in their last 10, and now have a 3.5-game lead over this Watertown Rapids team, sitting at 19-10 on the year. It's a 1-1 count to Michael Russell, as this one doesn't fall from Walczak, and so it's 2 balls and 1 strike to Russell. Russell, the third baseman tonight from Staten Island, New York. He chops this one. It's going to come to Warren at short. He'll have to field it. The play over to first, and it's in time. So no hits and no errors, and it's a 1-2-3 inning for the left-hander, Matt Walczak. We'll head to the side of the first after this. We welcome you back in here to Colburn Park. I'm Dan Cooter on the call tonight. as the Rapids were sent down in order to start things off in the top of the first. And so we head to the home side here early on in Newark, New York. A beautiful Monday evening for some baseball. As we mentioned at the top, the Rapids were able to end that 6-game losing streak and get back in the win column last night against this Newark Pilots team in a 12-6 win. Pilots will look to change things in the back end of the home and home here tonight, as it's Parker Tadlock, the Georgetown, Texas native, will once again lead things off for the Pilots here tonight. Tadlock, another strong night at the plate for him, as he was 3 for 4 and came across to score twice as he continues his hot season with the Pilots. For the Rapids, it's the left-hander Dylan Wilkinson, who was just signed to the team yesterday, so he makes his first appearance as a Watertown Rapid. The left-hander from Liverpool, New York, plays at St. John Fisher College, so a couple of these Pilots are definitely familiar with Wilkinson. As we'll see Alan Murphy and Justin Graham, both Wilkinson's teammates, will get to face him later on here in the game. It's Parker Tadlock who's leading things off, and it's a 2-0 count. Jared DeSantola will foul him up, and followed by the DH, Alan Murphy. Tadlock gets this one off the top of the bat and sends it foul for strike one. He'll be followed by the third baseman tonight for the Pilots, Serfolio. And as we saw, the catcher Ty Babin will be in the 5th spot. The shortstop Xavier Warren, the right fielder Ricky Phillips, and the second baseman Justin Graham. And it's Steven Edgett out in left field tonight who will round out the order. Tadlock chases this one out the strike zone and fouls it off. And so Wilkinson is able to get the even here, as Tadlock leads things off here in the bottom half of the first. Wilkinson ready to go with the 2-2 and misses in the dirt. As Nolan Wilson from Atlanta, Georgia, is the catcher tonight for the Rapids. Out in the field, it's the third baseman, Russell, shortstop Hirton, the second baseman, Kunzel, and the first baseman is Nick Bosma, and the outfield is Courage, Neal, and Lewis left to right. And Tadlock looks at ball 4 just outside, and so it's a leadoff walk and a good eye from Parker Tadlock to get aboard to start things off here in the bottom half of the first. Jared DeSantola, the first baseman tonight for the Pilots, will come in after the leadoff walk. The speedy Tadlock, who is always a threat to take off, is down at first. Tadlock leads the team with stolen bases at 7. And he also leads the team in average at .395. He has 32 hits now and 81 at-bats. It's the 13th time he's been walked. DeSantola lays down a bunt down the first baseline. Going to be a tough play. He can't get to it. Will it go foul? Yes, it will. A very smart baseball IQ play by Wilkinson there, as he knew he wasn't going to be able to make the play, and so he let it sit there on the first baseline, and before it could get to the bag, it rolled foul. And so DeSantola reluctantly will have to come back into the batter's box as it's strike one to him. Almost a perfectly executed bunt down the first baseline by the Tampa, Florida native, batting .288 on the year. Still scoreless here at Colburn Park, as it was a 1-2-3 inning for Waltzak in the top frame of the first inning. An 0-1 count now. Falls in there for strike 2, and Wilkinson ahead in the count now with 0 balls and 2 strikes to DeSantola. DeSantola, he was 2 for 3 last night at the plate and drove in a run. The top of the order was where the Pilots made most of their money in the loss last night in Watertown. Here's the 0-2. Swung on off the top of the bat and fouled by Jared DeSantola. So DeSantola fights off the 0-2 with Parker Tadlock down on first. After the failed bunt, DeSantolo forced to swing away now. Inside, and it's driven into the gap in right. Could be extra bases for Tadlock. He will round second. DeSantolo will hold up at first, and there's runner on the corners with none gone here in the bottom half of the first.
Number 10, designated hitter, Alan Murphy.
Good piece of batting there from DeSantolo, as we've seen that numerous times from him this year. He loves that pitch inside on the hands, and he's able to drive it into right field and gets Tadlock into third, and it brings the heavy-hitting Alan Murphy to the plate, who has been the best hitter by far on this Pilots staff this year. It was a 5 RBI night for Alan Murphy, and he leads the team by a large amount in the RBI category this year, and he had a chance to pad that number with runners at the corners here and none gone in the bottom half of the first. Wilkinson pitching him carefully here as it's 2 balls high and out of the strike zone to Murphy. Murphy now has 25 RBIs on the year, and here's a stat for you. Not any other Pilot batter has reached double digits in RBIs. And so I would assume the team MVP race is in Alan Murphy's hands so far this year, as he chops this one foul, and the count goes to 2-1. Murphy added his 4th home run of the year last night, as he had 3 hits on 5 at-bats and 5 RBIs. Runners at the corners and a 2-1 count with none gone here in the top or bottom of the first. This one's in the dirt, and it's a hitter's count now for Murphy at 3-1. For Dylan Wilkinson, as we mentioned, his first start for the Watertown Rapids after just being signed yesterday, and he's trying to work himself out of this jam. The 3-1. Murphy takes it low, and the bases are loaded with that walk, as Nolan Wilson will come out to have a chat with Wilkinson, and obviously unfamiliar territory for these two. And for Dylan Wilkinson, it's unfamiliar territory for him as a whole, as in his 16 appearances with St. John Fisher this past year, now one of them was a start. And so he's used to coming out of the bullpen, but he's the starter on the mound tonight, and he's in a heap of trouble with the bases loaded and none gone here in the bottom half of the first. It's a pair of walks and a single by DeSantolo that leads us to this point, and it brings Matt Cerfolio, the third baseman, to the plate. McLaughlin is your home plate umpire tonight, and he calls ball 1 low to Cerfolio. For Wilkinson, he only walked 10 batters in his appearances, and Cerfolio chops one into center. Tadlock's going to tag? No, he won't. And a wise decision there, as it was a good throw in from the center fielder, Samuel Neal, out there in center tonight for the Rapids. And he's able to keep the runners at bay, and with one gone, a big out for Dylan Wilkinson. And it brings the hero from the other night here at Colburn Park, Ty Babin, to the plate, as he had the walk-off single into right that scored the winning run and propelled the Pilots to a 7-6 victory over the league-leading Jamestown Jammers. A big win, I'd say the biggest of the year for this Newark Pilots team. As with the losing record the Pilots have, it's kind of the little things you have to look to. And it was a big game and a big play for Ty Babin, and he swings one into center, and is going to drop as it gets by Neal. He overplayed it, and now DeSantolo is charging for home. The throw won't come, and 2 runs come across to score, and the Pilots are off and running in this one as they lead 2-0.
Now batting out of Southfield, Michigan, number 22, shortstop, Xavier Warren.
And so runners at first and second, and Ty Babin picks up a pair of RBIs on the play, as Dylan Wilkinson, after getting the first out, couldn't get the second as Ty Babin hit one into center, and Neal was playing shallow to begin with, and So it was a great placement of the ball by Ty Babin into center, and then Neal just overshot it a little bit and allowed DeSansolo to come home and score as well. Warren hits one into right. It's a blooper, charging in after it, and it's going to fall. And so the runners will advance, and they're loaded with still one gone here in the bottom half of the first. Bailey Lewis could not charge in and make the play. And it brings Ricky Phillips to the plate with bases loaded once again here. And one gone in the bottom half of the first. The Pilots have already tacked on two and lead the Watertown Rapids 2-0 here. Keeping me busy early on, keeping track of all the plays by these Pilots batting staff who getting off to a good start here tonight. It's a 1-0 count as Wilkinson misses outside and low. Phillips sends this one down the left field line and foul. That's 1 ball and 1 strike to the right fielder tonight for the Pilots from Reynoldsburg, Ohio. Wilkinson the check down to third, and now a delivery. Phillips able to hold off on that one. Just waiting for McLaughlin's signal, and it is called a ball as it was in the dirt. Just unsure if Phillips could hold off, but it moves the count to 2-1 now. Phillips chops one down. It could be a double play ball. The play over to second, and it's to first, and it's not in time, and Alan Murphy comes home to score. As the 5-4-3 double play could not be executed in time for the Rapids. And with 2 gone, the Pilots get their 3rd runner of the night, and Ricky Phillips picks up an RBI. And it brings Justin Graham to the plate with 2 gone, and runners at the corners now for the Pilots as they've jumped out to a 3-0 lead here early on in the bottom half of the first. Graham, that one high. He did not go around on it, and so it's a 2-0 count. Graham hits one to the right, and it gets through the gap, and another one comes home to score as Ty Babin touches, and it's an RBI for Justin Graham. And the bats are flying here for the Pilots in the bottom half of the first as they lead 4-0 on 4 hits early on in this one. Pilots looking to bat around here in the bottom half of the first as they're at the bottom of the order already with Stephen Edgett. Edgett looks at a breaking ball that falls in there for strike 1. And you have to wonder, maybe just a couple of nerves from Dylan Wilkinson trying to make a good first impression here with this Watertown team. But he struggled in the opening frame of the game. He misses with this one high, and it moves the count even at 1-1 to Steve Edgett. Edgett, another St. John Fisher player, so he's probably seen Dylan Wilkinson on the mound before. We'll see if he can pay dividends. Here's the 1-1. Swung on by Edgett and hit high in the air, but foul off to the right. Justin Graham is on first, and Ricky Phillips on second. A 1-2 count now to Edgett. Inside, Edgett able to hold off. And it goes to 2 balls and 2 strikes. Pilots have gotten 4 here in the bottom half of the first, and they lead 4-0 over the Rapids. With 2 gone, it's a 2-2 count to the left fielder, Edgett. The breaking ball can't come across as it's outside and low. And it runs the count full here for Edgett. Edgett replaced Griffin Robinson last night and was 0 for 1 at the plate. He gets on top of this one and sends it foul. And so he's able to stay alive and make Dylan Wilkinson throw 1 more pitch, at least here in the bottom half of the first. Here's the payoff, and it's in there for strike 3. So the Pilots leave 2 men on, but no errors, 4 hits, and 4 runs for the Pilots here in the bottom half of the first, as they are off and running here at Colburn Park. Dan Cooter here on Newark Pilots TV as we welcome you back in. It was the Pilots who were able to get 4 in the bottom half of the first to jump out to a 4-0 lead in a first pitch flyout here, as Justin Graham was able to make the catch as Kenny Bergman flies out on the first pitch he sees for the first out of the inning. Walczak was able to send the Rapids down in order. 1, 2, 3, and now Wilson hits one to right on the first pitch he sees. And Phillips is in shallow right, and there's quickly 2 gone here in the top half of the second. So 2 pitches and 2 outs for Matt Walczak. Smooth sailing so far for the left-hander from Levittown, Pennsylvania. Bailey Lewis will try to change the Rapids' fortune here early on. From Matthews, North Carolina, and he looks at strike 1 to Walczak. Watertown did most of their damage in the later innings last night in Watertown. They out-hit the Pilots 15-12. It was a 1-0 game going to the bottom half of the 5th. When they tacked on 2 runs, they would add 3 in the 6th, 7th, and 8th innings to get up to 12 and go on to defeat the Pilots 12-6. And what was a blowout until the 8th and 9th innings when the Pilots got 3 in both innings to make it a respectable number. Walczak misses inside of the 1-2. And so it's an even count at 2-2 to Lewis. Plays his college baseball at Catholic University. Walczak misses inside, and it runs the count full now. Rapids looking for their first hit of the night, and the payoff. It's low, and it draws a 2-out walk. So the Rapids get their first base runner of the night as Bailey Lewis gets the free pass.
That was Bailey Lewis, number 1, right fielder. Now batting out of Overland Park, Kansas. Number 33, first baseman Nick Bosma.
Watertown trying to make something happen here. With 2 gone, they trail 4-0 in the top of the second. As it's Nick Bosma, the first baseman tonight for the Rapids, that looks at ball 1, low and away from Walczak. Nick Bosma from Overland Park, Kansas, plays at Rhodes, along with William Hearton, who we saw back in the top of the first. This one smacked into left. Chasing it back is Edgett, and it's into the gap. Rounding is Lewis. He will easily score, charging for 3, and the relay won't be in time. It's an RBI triple for Nick Bosma, and the Rapids are on the board as it's a 4-1 ball game.
Now batting out of Cincinnati, Ohio. Number 10, second baseman Trevor Kumpf.
Big 2-out smack in the left as it found the gap. I lost it in the sun for a second, but judging by Steven Edgett taken back for the wall, it was a hard hit ball by Nick Bosma, and it gives the Rapids their first run of the game. And it all comes off of the 2-out walk from Matt Walczak. Bosma hitting .278 on the year coming into tonight's game. It's his 16th RBI with the Rapids. Kunsel, the second baseman tonight for the Rapids. There's a 2-0 count to Walczak as Ty Babin comes to have a chat with his pitcher. As Bosma all the way around to third on the RBI triple. Here's the 2-0. Able to paint the outside corner. So it's 2 balls and 1 strike. So Trevor Kunsel from Cincinnati, Ohio, plays at George Washington. The 2-1 swung on, chopped down to the third baseman, Serfolio. He fields it. The throw over to first in time, and so the Rapids strand one, but they get one back here in the top half of the second as it's a 4-1 ball game here at Colburn Park. Pilots are already at the top of the order for the second time tonight. As we head to the bottom half of the second, they hold a 4-1 lead over the Watertown Rapids, as it's a out-of-division matchup here in the Perfect Game League. Rapids in the Central Division coming to take on the Western Division Newark Pilots. Tadlock was walked his first plate appearance and came around to score. He chops one into right over the head of Bosma, and he has himself a base hit. And so Parker Tadlock continues his hot streak as he is aboard to lead off the bottom half of the second.
First baseman, Jared DeSantolo.
Jared DeSantolo back at the plate. He had a single to right his first time up. And for Tadlock, 3 hits last night, none in the Jamestown win, but 2, 4, and 2 the 3 previous games before that. So a couple of multi-hit games. Now DeSantolo lays one down the first baseline, and now he executes it. So he tried the same thing his first plate appearance, but he gets it this time.
Number 10, designated hitter, Alan Murphy.
And Wilkinson tried to scoop that one up with the glove and flip it to first, but it doesn't work. And so DeSantolo bunts his way on, and there's runners on first and second with none gone. Alan Murphy back at the plate. He was walked and came around to score. There's a 1-0 count here. Dylan Wilkinson has already given up 6 hits and 4 earned runs. Gets this one to fall in the outside corner, and so it's a 1-1 count to the DH, Alan Murphy. And as we mentioned, a big night for him as he had a home run and 5 RBIs in the 12-6 loss to Watertown. 25 RBIs on the Richburg, New York native, and he sends one off the ankle of Wilkinson. The tag, and it's not in time. Tadlock able to evade it. It almost turned out to be a good play for Wilkinson, as that one was going to skip up the middle and probably become an RBI single for Murphy. But it's an infield single for Alan Murphy, and it loads the bases with none gone here, as Dylan Wilkinson has struggled early and often. And here in the second inning, it's a 4-1 Pilots lead. 7 hits and a full infield mound visit here as the head coach Dave Anderson is out to talk with his newly acquired pitcher. Wilkinson having a laugh about it, as obviously he can't be happy with his performance to this point, but for someone who comes in, it's a new set of faces for him. It's a new team, and just probably out of his element a little bit. And I'm sure anyone who's played sports can relate to something like that, with just a different team and a different environment for him, and just trying to find his footing here. As there's none gone and the bases are loaded for the Pilots, trying to add on to the 4-1 lead. It's Matt Cerfolio who comes to the plate. Cerfolio 0 for 1 as he flew out with the bases loaded. His first plate appearance will try to change that here. Wilkinson misses high for ball 1. So 3 singles load the bases here for Newark. 2 of them in the infield. As it's a 1-0 count to Matt Cerfolio. A breaking ball in there for strike 1 as home plate umpire McLaughlin makes the call. Cerfolio hitting .281 on the season with the Pilots. Was 1 for 5 last evening. Has 16 hits compiled and 16 games played so far this year. Here's the 1-1 out in front of it. And a big cut and miss from Cerfolio gets Wilkinson ahead in the count 1-2. These 3 runners on base for the Pilots all came around to score in the top half of the first. They'll try to do it again, but Cerfolio is behind in the count 1-2. From the stretch, swung on high in the air. In foul territory, Bosma comes in from first to make the catch, and so there's 1 retired.
Now batting.
Serfolio fails to execute on the bases loaded for his second time already tonight. Ty Babin, on the other hand, he did his job with the bases loaded as he drove in a pair of runs and later came around to score himself in his first plate appearance just last inning. So the bases remain loaded with one gone, and it's already a 4-1 Pilots lead. They already have 7 hits to the Rapids 1. So they're looking to chase Dylan Wilkinson from the mound early here tonight. Wilkinson throws one in the dirt as the catcher Nolan Wilson does a good job to keep it in front of him. Nolan Wilson from Atlanta, Georgia, plays at Virginia Tech. He redshirted in his 2018 season. Wilkinson able to get a strike to fall on the inside part of the plate. So it's a 1-1 count to the catcher from Jackson, New Jersey, Ty Babin. Babin swings on this one, and he sends it foul. So Dylan Wilkinson ahead in the count here again. So it would be a pretty good confidence booster if he can somehow find a way to get out of this inning without giving up any more runs. Ty Babin, who plays his college baseball at Campbell, as we mentioned, had that walk-off single here at Colburn Park on Saturday night. This one escapes Wilson, but Tadlock will not attempt to come home, as Wilson was able to chase it down. A quick play from the catcher, and it keeps the runners at bay. Babin did not appear in last night's game. He was 1 for 5. His only hit was that walk-off in the 7-6 win over Jamestown. So after the pass ball, it's a 2-2 count to Babin. Swing, and it's hit into center. Shallow center. Neal is in. He runs towards it. Tadlock's going to tag this time. And it's not going to be in time, as it was an inaccurate throw from the center fielder, Neal. And another run comes home to score as Tadlock touches up for the second time. So it's a sac fly to center and another RBI for Ty Babin, his third of the evening. That extends the Pilots' lead to 5-1. And with 2 gone, there's runners on first and second. As Xavier Warren comes back to the plate. He's 1 for 1 with a single. A breaking ball lays in there for strike one, a juicy breaking ball that Xavier Warren washes go by. The Southfield, Michigan native. Plays his college baseball at Central Michigan. He's the shortstop tonight once again for the Pilots. Played that role most of the season for Newark. This one chopped down the third baseman, a diving play, and the throw over to first. It's not in time. Michael Russell with a valiant effort down at third, but couldn't pop back up and make the throw in time as Warren gets himself aboard with an infield single. And it loads the bases here once again. And it brings Ricky Phillips, who had an RBI as he beat out the throw down to first his last time up. Wilkinson misses in the dirt for ball 1. 2 gone here in the bottom half of this second. Pilots compiled 8 hits and 5 runs already in this one, as they lead the Watertown Rapids in their inaugural season 5-1. This one's in the dirt. It gets by Wilson. Now DeSanto's going to charge home. Here's the throw. Is it in time? No. And the 6th run comes home to score on the wild pitch from Wilkinson. Parker Tadlock elected to stay put on third on the last pass ball that got by Nolan Wilson, but Jaron DeSantolo makes a decision to come home, and he's there in time, and it's a 6-1 Pilots lead now. So the runners advance to second and third as well. Phillips hits one into right shallow center. Neal is there to make the play, and so the Pilots strand two, but they add two more here in the bottom half of the second, and they lead the Watertown Rapids 6-1 as we head to the top of the third here at Colburn Park. Dan Cooter on the call here tonight at Colburn Park as we welcome you back in. Pilots have jumped out to a 6-1 lead through 2 innings of play here as it's Matt Walczak beginning his 3rd inning of work on the mound for the Pilots. It's the bottom of the order for the Rapids with the center fielder Samuel Neal up at the plate from Smithfield, Virginia. Plays his college baseball at Case Western Reserve. A breaking ball as Neal showed bunt, but it was well high, and Neal able to get out of the way. So it's 2 balls and 1 strike for Neal. At the knees, and strike 2. Neal hitting .211 on the season as he makes his 20th appearance with the Rapids. A breaking ball off the top of the bat and sent high and foul. And so it keeps the count even at 2-2. Neal hitless in his last 7. And he chops one high in the air. Warren from short is able to come in and make the play for out 1. And so the hitless streak continues for Neal, as he did not appear in last night's Watertown win. Rapids head to the top of the order now with Julian Courage. He went down on strikes. His first plate appearance of the night. Takes a swing at this one and sends it foul for strike 1. Courage from Middletown, Delaware. Hitting .360. He chops one down to the shortstop, Warren. A soft play. And the throw over to first, and it bobbles off of DeSantolo's glove. And it'll be an E6 here for the Pilots, as the Rapids have a base runner with 1 gone here in the top half of the 3rd. Warren seemed to slip down there in the dirt as the ball kind of hit the mound a little bit and switched directions, and Warren trying to adapt to it as it was a slow roller. Could not make the throw over to first, as it was an arid one that DeSantolo could not handle. That's the first error of the night charge to either side. And it puts Courage over at first with one gone. Hirton, he grounded out his first plate appearance. The shortstop from Covington, Louisiana. Plays at Rhodes this past season. At .320 and appeared in 47 games. They got him in a pickoff now here. And they get Courage. And a good pickoff play by Matt Walczak. And there's quickly two gone now. I'd take my eye off the game for 1 second. And Matt Walczak throws down and gets the second out of the inning here. 1-1 count in there for strike two. And Walczak got on the count now. The 1-2. Blooped into center. Throw over to second by Graham. Not in time. And it gets away from DeSantolo. And now taken off around second. Charging for third. And there won't be a throw. And so it's another error from Newark. And it allows a base runner to get all the way around to third as Hirton safely into third as DeSantolo, I don't think, realized he didn't have the ball at first. And then once he saw it passed at him, it made its way all the way to the Pilots bullpen. And he had to hustle down to it and allowed Hirton to get all the way to third. Breaking ball is in there for strike one to the third baseman, Michael Russell from Staten Island, New York. Grounded out his first plate appearance. This one fielded by Warren. It's short. And Walczak gets himself out of the inning. And so the Rapids strand one here in the top half of the third and trailed the Pilots 6-1 here at Colburn Park.
Now batting out of St. Mary, Pennsylvania. Number 12, second baseman, Justin Graham.
Justin Graham will lead things off here in the bottom half of the third. The Webster, New York native is 1 for 1, had an RBI single his first plate appearance. And it's a new pitcher on the mound for the Rapids as Dylan Wilkinson's day is short-lived. After he gives up 6 earned runs on 8 hits in 2 innings of work, he's chased from the mound. And it brings on the right-hander from Suffolk, Virginia, Jarrett Henderson. Graham looks at a ball high. And it's a 1-1 count to the second baseman. Jarrett Henderson making his 8th appearance of the year with the Rapids. He's made 1 start in 6 relief appearances, so technically his 7th relief appearance of the year, but it comes early on, earlier than expected for Watertown in this one. It's a 2-1 count to Justin Graham now. Graham holds off on a strike on the outside corner, so he evens the count at 2-2. The 2-2 in the dirt. Wilson keeps it in front of him, but no harm done as Justin Graham leads the inning off in the bottom half of the third. Henderson with that ball moves the count to 3-2. The payoff swung into center, a hard one. Neal tracking it back, and he's able to make the play for a hard out number 1.
Now batting out of Western New York, number 24, left fielder, Stephen Edgett.
Back-to-back Webster, New York natives as it's Stephen Edgett at the plate now. And both of those St. John Fisher College players as well. Edgett has 3 hits in his 23 at-bats with the Pilots this year, as he makes his 10th appearance with Newark. Has 5 RBIs and is hitting a 130 average so far. In front of this one and fouls it off the bottom of the barrel, as he's behind in the count 0-2 to Henderson. So Henderson enters the game here in the bottom of the third in a 6-1 hole, with the Pilots out hitting the Rapids 8-1. Henderson ready to go with the 0-2. Swung on and missed by Edgett. So the first K for Henderson since taking over for Wilkinson. And there's 2 gone now. Top of the order for the Pilots now, and it's the center fielder, Parker Tadlock, back at the plate. He was walked his first plate appearance and was able to get a single into right his second time up. He's come around to score both times he's reached. He leads the team with 20 runs now on the year. And he chops one into right, and it's another hit for Parker Tadlock.
Now batting out of Tampa Bay, Florida, number 31, first baseman, Jared DeSantolo.
He keeps the inning alive. And his Tadlock, in 5 of his last 6 appearances, has had a multi-hit game now, as he has 2 in the evening already. And it brings DeSantolo to the plate as he waves at a breaking ball for strike 1. Tadlock has become the mainstay as a leadoff man here, as DeSantolo grounds one down to the right, and it skips through. Tadlock will hold up, but DeSantolo is aboard, as Kunsel could not dive and make the play. Kunsel was playing close to that second bag, and so when that hit was in between the first baseman Bosmal and Kunsel charged towards it, but out of his outreach glove, and it allows DeSantolo to get on base. And now Murphy sends one down the left field line, and it's in there for a base hit, and it's another RBI as Tadlock comes home to score for the 3rd time tonight, and the Pilots lead 7-1 now.
Now batting out of Indian Springs, Alabama, number 3, third baseman, Matt Serfolio.
For the Pilots, they've already knocked in 7 runs and have 11 hits. And for Alan Murphy, it's his 26th RBI of the season. And Matt Cerfolio, who has flied out his first 2 plate appearances, will try to keep the inning going for the Pilots, as they've scored in all 3 innings now. It was 4 in the bottom half of the first. They got them off and running. They came up to bat in the second and added 2 more. It's 1 more here in the third. As Cerfolio hits one into right center. Neal's tracking it back, and he's able to make the catch. And so the Pilots strand 2, but add another run to the board as they lead 7-1 over the Watertown Rapids here at Colburn Park.
Kenny Bergman.
Pilots have jumped out to a 7-1 lead through 3 innings of play here at Colburn Park, as I'm Dan Cooter with the Watertown Rapids in town tonight. They'll try to climb out of the hole, as Matt Walczak has been strong on the mound. He's given up 1 earned run on only 1 hit through 3 innings of work. It's a 1-1 count here. And already a new batter. Oh, excuse me, that's not a new batter. That's just Kenny Bergman. Couldn't catch his number. But it's Kenny Bergman who will lead things off here in the top half of the 4th. And Walczak misses high, and so it's a 2-2 count to Bergman from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Plays at UConn. He's 0 for 1 with a flyout tonight. And now 1 for 2 as he sends one into left for a base hit.
Now batting out of Atlanta, Georgia, number 13.
So a good at-bat for Kenny Bergman, and he gets on as a leadoff man here in the top of the 4th. Just what the Rapids need here as they trail 7-1, being now hit 11-2 now after the Bergman single. And it brings up Nolan Wilson, the catcher from Atlanta, Georgia, back to the plate. Wilson is 0 for 1. He flew out his first plate appearance, and he fouls one off the top of the bat for strike 1. Wilson hitting .256 on the year with Watertown. Was 1 for 4 last evening in the 12-6 win over the Pilots. He struck out 3 times, however, and is down on the count 0-2 with Bergman over at first. Walczak has already picked off 1 base runner tonight for Watertown. So the Rapids got to be careful here as Wilson fouls one off behind the backstop and stays alive as the count remains at 0-2. Wilson with 18 RBIs on the year, 3rd on the team in that category. Michael Russell, the 3rd baseman tonight, leads the Watertown Rapids in RBIs with 20. Walczak misses with this one high, and so it runs the count to 1-2 on Wilson, as he was able to hold off on the fastball. And Wilson gets underneath this one. It's a can of corn into right as Phillips comes in to make the play for out number 1.
Matthews, North Carolina. Number 1, right fielder, Bailey Lewis.
For Matt Walczak, it's his 6th start of the season for Newark. His 9th appearance overall, as he made a relief appearance here at Colburn Park just 2 nights ago against Jamestown in the 7-6 win. He pitched 2 1/3 inning and gave up no hits and no earned runs. This one sent down the left field line. Edgett chasing it, and it's just foul. And that could have brought a run home to score for the Rapids, but it just sneaks foul. And now behind in the count, 0-2, is Bailey Lewis. Lewis, he was able to get on board with a 2-out walk his last plate appearance, and it was Nick Bosma who brought him home on a RBI triple. That stands as the only run of the game for Watertown, as there's 1 gone here in the top of the 4th, as Kenny Bergman is still down on first after his leadoff single into left. Now the 0-2. It's a breaking ball in the dirt, as Lewis does a good job to lay off of it. Lewis from Matthews, North Carolina. He plays his college baseball at Catholic University this past year. A successful campaign for him as he hit .359 on the season and had 52 hits. 13 of those were doubles. He swings on this one. Could be a double play ball. Serfolio down to second. The play over to first. Not in time, as Lewis is able to beat it out, as he is on first on the infielder choice. And with 2 gone, Pilots not able to convert the double play. But Bergman is thrown out at second. And so with 2 gone, it's Nick Bosma with a RBI triple, as we just mentioned last now. But now he's shooting center. And that's another hit on the evening. Nick Bosma is looking to the plate. His first 2 plate appearances. As he swings with the first pitch he sees in the second at bat. And advances Bosma to second. And brings Kunzel back to the plate, who rounded out his first plate appearance. Trevor Kunzel from Cincinnati, Ohio, plays at George Washington, where he hit .167 in 30 appearances. Walczak able to get this one at the knees for strike 1. As Kunzel had 6 hits and 36 at-bats with George Washington. And he'll try to cut into that Pilots lead with 2 gone. Runners on first and second for Watertown. The 0-1 swung on and popped up by Kunzel. Right at the second baseman, Graham. And he's able to make the catch for out number 3. And so the Rapids, they strand a pair here in the top half of the 4th and still trail the Pilots 7-1.
Now going to the bottom.
Dan Cooter here on Newark Pilots TV as we welcome you back in for the bottom half of the fourth as we play on here at Colburn Park. Pilots have gotten runs in all 3 innings to this point, and they lead the Watertown Rapids 7-1, out hitting the Rapids 11-3. Only 2 errors did come from Newark, and they were back-to-back. Jarrett Henderson is back on the mound for his 2nd inning of work after taking over for Dylan Wilkinson, who had a tough night on the mound for the Rapids, as he exited the game quite early. And Babin sends this one foul. Chasing it down is Russell, but it'll escape into the Rapids bullpen. And so it's a 1-1 count to the catcher now. Babin is 1 for 2. He had a RBI sac fly his last plate appearance. His first time up, he knocked in 2 RBIs on a single. He fouls this one off the top of the bat. And Suffolk, Virginia, stands 6'1", 210 on the mound, plays his college baseball in Norfolk State. Babin smacks one into center and has himself a base hit to lead things off here in the bottom half of the fourth.
Now batting out of Southfield, Michigan, number 22, shortstop, Xavier Warren.
Strong night at the plate already for Ty Babin as he's 2 for 3 now. As we mentioned, he's been able to knock in a couple of runs in both of his plate appearances. And now it's aboard here to lead things off in the bottom half of the fourth. Xavier Warren, the shortstop, comes back, and he has a pair of singles in his first 2 at-bats. Plenty of offensive power here tonight from this Newark lineup that Matt Colbert has put together. Henderson is able to get one to fall in the outside corner. So it's a 1-1 count to the Southfield, Michigan product. Henderson, a 2.28 ERA as Warren chops one. And Kunzel will go to second for the choice out. And so Warren is on first as Babin is thrown out at second.
Number 19, right fielder, Rick Phillips.
Trevor Kunzel able to field that one and elects to go to second. He makes the right play, getting Ty Babin out. And so Warren is on first with 1 gone now. Phillips hits one up the center. Tagging up is Kunzel, and it's a double play ball to get the Rapids out of the inning. And so we stay at 7-1 as we head to the 5th here at Colburn Park. No runs in the 4th inning here at Colburn Park, and so we remain with a 7-1 lead for the Pilots as Newark out hitting Watertown 12-3 through 4 innings of play. It's the 9-1-2 hitters for the Rapids here in the top half of the fifth. And it's the center fielder from Smithfield, Virginia, Samuel Neal. He cracks the first pitch he sees right down to the first baseman, D. Sansolo, and he's able to tag out for an easy out number one. A lot of these Rapids batters going down on their first pitch they've seen, as Walczak has had a relatively easy night to this point. Top of the order now for the Rapids as Walczak gets a breaking ball to fall in for strike one to Julian Kurich. He was able to reach on an error. And as we alluded to in the last inning, it was a pair of errors from the Pilots that allowed Kurich and Huriton, the 1-2 hitters tonight for Watertown, to both get on base. A 1-1 count here to Kurich. He swings on this one, sends it into right, and it's a base hit. As he gets around on the fastball from Walczak and tosses it into right. And with one gone, Kurich gets himself over on first. Julian Kurich, as we mentioned, has had a strong season at the plate for Watertown as he makes his 25th appearance. He had 31 hits on 86 at-bats with a .360 batting average coming into tonight with 16 RBIs. As a team leading 11 doubles. Huriton chops a foul ball down the third baseline. So he's behind in the count 0-1. Huriton sends it right into the same area. And so Walczak gets ahead now 0-2. William Huriton from Covington, Louisiana, plays his college baseball at Rhodes, where he hit .320 and made 47 appearances with Rhodes. Had 55 hits in 182 at-bats. 14 of those being doubles. Only 2 here for Watertown this year, though. Doubles, those are. As he fouls off another one. And the count remains at 0-2. There's one gone here in the top of the fifth. Pilots leading the Rapids 7-1. It was a quick start for Newark as they were able to tack on 4 in the bottom frame of the first. Walczak takes a peek down to first. As Kurich, the left fielder tonight for the Rapids, back in plenty of time after his 1-out single. Huriton hitting .320 on the season with Watertown as the 0-2 misses outside. 24 hits and 75 at-bats. And has knocked in 16 runs for the Rapids. Has been walked 16 times. Second to only Nolan Wilson, who's been walked 21 times on the year. Babin not able to keep this one in front of him. Kurich glides into second and into scoring position for Watertown on the wild pitch from Matt Walczak. Walczak having a tough time getting Huriton out here as he had him in an 0-2 hole. Huriton has worked the count back to even at 2-2. He's 0 for 2. As we mentioned, was able to reach on an error along with Kurich, who is down on second now. The 2-2. Just low and a little bit inside, and so it runs the count full to Huriton, who is proven to be a tough out here. Misses outside, and it's a good at-bat from Huriton. He draws the 1-out walk as the count was at 0-2. But Walczak could not get the final strike. It's the first walk issued by Walczak tonight. Walczak, no Ks for him in the evening, but plenty of flyouts and groundouts have been beneficial to him so far tonight. This is the third baseman, Michael Russell, back at the plate, 0 for 2 with a pair of groundouts. And with one gone, Rapids threatening with runners on first and second, trying to cut into that Pilots lead. This one's in the dirt. Babin doesn't know where it is. Now the runner's going to take down to third, and there's no throw from Babin. And so Courage gets himself to third, and the runners are at the corners now for Watertown. As I thought maybe Ty Babin would try and throw down to the third baseman, Matt Serfolio, but he elects not to. And that's a 1-1 count as Waltak backs off. Michael Russell from Staten Island, New York, plays at Stony Brook, batting .330 on the season with Watertown. He chops one to Warren. Warren over to second, the play to first. And he gets him. A big double play ball for Newark, and they get out of the inning. And so the score remains 7-1. Some disagreement from Michael Russell, but that'll do it for the top half of the fifth. As we head to the home side, still a 7-1 Pilots lead.
Justin Graham.
Dan Cooter here on Newark Pilots TV as we welcome you back into Colburn Park. It's a 7-1 Newark lead over the Watertown Rapids, and it's the 8-9-1 hitters. And Justin Graham, who will lead things off here in the bottom half of the fifth. Pilots out hitting the Rapids 12-4. And Jarrett Henderson, the right-hander from Suffolk, Virginia, is back on the mound for Watertown, as it was a quick night for Dylan Wilkinson, as he was chased from the mound after giving up 6 earned runs in the first 2 innings. Graham knocks one high in the air to right. Underneath it is Lewis, and he's able to make the catch for out number 1.
Now batting out of Western New York, number 24, left fielder, Stephen Edgett.
Stephen Edgett will come to the plate now and try to change his fortunes, as he is 0 for 2 with a pair of strikeouts. He's one of only 2 hitters for this Pilots order that hasn't gotten a hit tonight, but he's aboard as he gets hit by a pitch here by Henderson on the first pitch he sees. And so Henderson hits a batter, and it's Stephen Edgett, who seems to be okay. He's down at first now, and with 1 gone. It's the top of the order with Parker Tadlock. It's another strong evening for him. Is 2 for 2, has walked his first plate appearance and has come across to score all 3 times he has gotten on base. As we mentioned, for Parker Tadlock, in 5 out of his last 6 games as multi-hit plate appearances. It's a 1-0 count. The check down to first. A close one there, as Henderson taking a peek over at Stephen Edgett. Edgett back in time. For Parker Tadlock, he's making his 26th appearance with Pilots this year. And that leads the team by a far stretch. Alan Murphy, the other slugger on this team, has appeared in 22 games. And Xavier Warren second on the team as he makes his 24th appearance of the year. 1-1 count here to Tadlock. This breaking ball comes around and finds the inside part of the plate. And so Henderson gets himself ahead of the count. 1-2. As we mentioned, Parker Tadlock hitting .395. He's been flirting with that 400 batting average for a couple weeks now. It's a 1-2 count to him. He swings on this one and fouls it off down the right baseline as the bullpen scatters for the Pilots. That one was coming towards him. Count remains 1-2 with Stephen Edgett down on first after he was hit by a pitch from Jarrett Anderson. Another 1-2 from the stretch. Fought off high in the air by Tadlock. Underneath it is the second baseman, Kunzel, and he's able to make the play for the second out of the inning.
Now batting out of Tampa Bay, Florida, number 31, first baseman, Jared DeSantolo.
So the Rapids pitching staff finally finds a way to get Parker Tadlock out as he flies out to the second baseman, Kunzel. And with two retired, it's Jared DeSantolo, his 3 for 3 with 3 singles on the evening. Back at the plate. Looks at strike one. And DeSantolo, a little look back at McLaughlin as McLaughlin says it catches the outside corner. And so it's an 0-1 count to the Tampa, Florida native who plays at Florida Atlantic University Division I baseball. Made it all the way to the NCAA regionals this past year. And he fouls this one off and is behind the count 0-2 now. DeSantolo was 2 for 3 in the 12-6 loss to Watertown last night with a pair of doubles and an RBI to his name. He was also hit twice. So an active night at the plate, an eventful one to say the least for Jared DeSantolo as he's continued a successful couple of plate appearances as it's a 3-game hit streak now for the first baseman. A 1-2 count to DeSantolo. Chopped down to Kunzel. Kunzel bobbles it. The play over to first. It's in time, however. And so it is still a 7-1 game here at Colburn Park as we've seen no runs go up on the board in the last 2 innings. And we'll head to the top of the 6th here at Colburn Park.
Now
We continue on with this outer division matchup between the Watertown Rapids and Newark Pilots. It's a 7-1 Pilots lead as we head to the top of the 6th. And it's the DH, Kenny Bergman, who will lead things off as it's the 4, 5, 6 hitters right in the middle of the order for the Rapids as they're being out-hit by the Pilots 12-4. Matt Walczak is on the mound as he begins his 6th inning of work. For Walczak, as we mentioned, no Ks to his name tonight. Pardon me, he does have 1 strikeout. Tough ground play for Serfolio. He is able to pump it once and then the throw down to first in time for out number 1. It was a leadoff strikeout for Matt Walczak, and we haven't seen him strike out a batter since. But we've seen a lot of plays like that one, ground outs, fly outs, keeping the infield and outfield busy, but at the same time, some easy outs for them. And 4 hits and 1 earned run given up from Walczak as he's pitched 5 1/3 innings of work now. It's the catcher Nolan Wilson who looks at ball 1 back at the plate. Wilson is 0 for 2 as he's flown out both of his appearances tonight. Wilson fouls this one off the top of the bat, right back at us here in the press box as it catches backstop. And it's a 1-2 count now to Wilson. Wilson hits one high in the air to left. Edge it in shallow left, is able to make the catch easily for out number 2.
Now batting out of Matthews, North Carolina. Number 1, right fielder, Bailey Lewis.
Smooth sailing for Matt Walczak tonight. Yes, there's 2 gone here in the top of the 6th now. And it's Bailey Lewis. He's been able to reach both times. He was walked his first plate appearance and came across to score the only Rapids run of the game, and then reached on an infielder's choice the second time up. He sends one foul as Graham is charging after it, but he will not be able to get there. And so it falls into foul territory, and the count goes to 1-1 to Bailey Lewis, the right fielder tonight for Watertown. A 2-1 count as Walczak misses with this one. It's been 9 groundouts that Matt Walczak has been able to get tonight. And that's been a key to his success here on the mound as he throws one in the dirt. And it skips into the chest of Babin. And so it's a 3-1 count. Walczak has walked 2 batters. And as we mentioned, only 1 strikeout on the evening, the 3-1. Misses outside, and so it's a 2-out walk, and we saw this happen back when the Rapids got their only run of the game, and it was Bailey Lewis who was walked with 2 outs, and then it led to Nick Bosma with an RBI triple, getting Watertown on the board. Walczak will try to avoid that as Ty Babin has a chat with him in the mound. And Nick Bosma has been the only hitter who has really been strong at the plate for Watertown. He's 2 for 2. He singled his last plate appearance as he cracked a pitch into center field on the first pitch he saw from Walczak. He swings at this one on the first offering and fouls it to the third baseline. Bosma from Overland Park, Kansas, hit .286 this past season with Rhodes. Appeared in all 48 games for the team as he's out in front of a breaking ball for strike number 2. Bosma, 182 at-bats and a staggering 73 strikeouts he had in his last college season as he fouls this one off. He led the team at Rhodes in a good majority with 73 strikeouts. He struck out 23 times this year with Watertown. He looks at ball 1 high from Walczak, and so a 1-2 count with 2 gone after the 2-out walk. Lewis is over on first. The 1-2 cracked by Bosma and sent foul again, and so he stays alive. A 7-1 Pilots lead as we play on here in the top of the 6th. Walczak looking to finish his 6th inning of work cleanly here. And it's a 1-2 count to Bosma. This one fouled off the top of the bat as Bosma has fought off 3 straight pitches to stay alive. For for Matt Walczak, it was a shaky start on the mound his last start he made. He did pitch 7 innings in a 3-2 loss to Elmira. He gave up 11 hits, but was able to limit the damage and only gave up 3 runs in what turned out to be a loss to his name. He has a 1-3 record with a 4.26 ERA. As he misses high with this one to Bosma, and the count is even at 2-2 now. 2s across the boards here in the top of the 6th as Bosma fights off another one. The 4th foul pitch he's been able to get a piece of, all on 2 strikes. Lewis has stayed put on first with 2 gone. And he will again. Bosma fights off another one. Nick Bosma, a tough out here in the top of the 6th. And the count remains 2-2. The Levittown, Pennsylvania native Matt Walczak trying to get out of the inning and keep the 6-run lead for the Pilots. Another 2-2. Bosma sends it down the third baseline. Serfolio the snag over to first, and Bosma is finally retired. And so the score remains 7-1 as Matt Walczak has pitched 6 strong innings of work here at Colburn Park, and the Pilots will come up to bat next when we head to the bottom of the 6th here at Colburn Park. Alan Murphy will lead things off in the bottom half of the 6th as his Newark Pilots lead the Watertown Rapids 7-1 as night falls upon us here at Colburn Park. Allen smacks one into right, and it's going to stay fair up against the wall. Murphy charging into second. Lewis is able to make the relay in, but Alan Murphy has a stand-up double to lead things off in the bottom half of the 6th. Alan Murphy is 3 for 3 on the night now. And has an RBI, has come to score once. And anytime you really see the Pilots succeed, Alan Murphy is right at the top of the names that you mention when you talk about the win. This one in the dirt. Wilson does an excellent job to snag it on the hop. As Serfolio looks at ball 1. Serfolio from Indian Springs, Alabama, is only one of 2 hitters without a hit tonight. Him and Stephen Edgett are the only 2 Pilots who are hitless. He looks at strike 1, and it moves the count even at 1-1 to the third baseman. Plays his college baseball at Columbia. Jarrett Henderson, who took over for Dylan Wilkinson, has only given up 1 earned run after Wilkinson gave up 6 in his 2 innings of work. 2-1 count as this one is just a tad low to Serfolio. Some action in that Pilots bullpen. We'll see if Walczak comes out for the 7th inning, as he's given up 4 hits and 1 earned run. Serfolio is able to hold off of the breaking ball low, and so he gets himself into a hitter's count at 3-1. For Alan Murphy, it's his team-leading 9th double of the campaign. As this one hits McLaughlin right in the foot, it sounded, or that might have been the knee, but it escapes. Murphy's down to third. But the concern is on the home plate umpire here, McLaughlin, as you could hear that one come off of the protective guarding that he has. I think that was his knee that it caught. And we'll see if he's okay to continue here. As he limps this one off, and that was a hard ball that seemed to bounce off a home plate and catch him right in the knee, it looks like. Serfolio did draw the walk on the play, and so there's runners at the corners for the Pilots. As McLaughlin looks to shake this one off. Both Anderson and Colbert, the managers for the respective teams tonight, are out to check on the home plate umpire, as a trainer on the Pilots staff is there as well. We'll reset you here in case you're just joining us. Dan Cooter here at Colburn Park. It's a 7-1 Pilots lead, as McLaughlin seems to be okay, and she shakes things off and gets a tap on the rear end from his counterpart as he's ready to go. It's 13 hits for the Pilots tonight, as they got 4 in the bottom half of the first. They followed that up with 2 more in the bottom frame of the second. They added another run in the third, and they lead 7-1. And Matt Walczak has pitched 6 strong innings of work, and we'll see if he returns for his 7th. But Watertown still a lot of work to do in this inning, as there's runners at the corners for Jarrett Henderson and none gone after the walk to Serfolio. On the pass ball that went off of McLaughlin's knee, Murphy was able to get the third. They didn't say he had to go back, and so he is down there at third, and it's an 0-1 count to Ty Babin. This one off the end of the barrel, and he's behind 0-2. Babin, it's been a strong night at the plate for him, as he is 2 for 3 with 3 RBIs, had a single his last plate appearance. The catcher from Jackson, New Jersey, in an 0-2 hole here with none gone. Babin sends one into left as he fights it off and has an RBI single. Great piece of at-batting there from Ty Babin as he reaches at one off the end of the bat and gets it in between the gap there and the third baseman and shortstop, and drives in his 4th run of the evening as the Pilots extend their lead to 8-1. Xavier Warren back at the plate, as it's the 14th hit of the evening for Newark. And they've really been in the driver's seat ever since the beginning of this one. Watertown just seemed to come out a little flat, especially the left-hander Dylan Wilkinson. He was chased from the game after just 2 innings of work. Warren looks at strike 1 from Henderson. McLaughlin calls ball 1, so a 1-1 count to the shortstop Warren now. For Ty Babin, he had 5 RBIs coming into tonight's contest. He's almost doubled that. He's at 9 now after the 4 RBI night. And the most recent RBI single brought Alan Murphy home to score the 8th run of the game for Newark. In most recent memory, Pilots have not played with many leads here at Colburn Park, but a strong start has allowed them to really be in the driver's seat for the most part of this game. It's a 2-2 count as Warren fouls one off right in front of home plate. one in the dirt. Wilson doesn't know where it is, and both the runners will advance to second and third now off the wild pitch from Henderson. For Ty Babin, he went 5 straight games without an RBI and then was able to tally one in the walk-off effort against Jamestown and now has 4 tonight. He has started to get a little hot at the plate here recently for the Pilots. A full count with the payoff. It's fouled off by Warren. And he'll make Henderson throw another pitch here. There's still none gone as the Pilots have tacked on another run. They lead 8-1 here in the bottom half of the 6th. Warren is 2 for 3. Has reached all 3 times. It's a pair of singles and reached on the infielder's choice. He looks at strike 3 in the outside corner for out number 1.
Now batting out of Reynoldsburg, Ohio, number 19, right fielder, Rick Phillips.
He's only the second Pilots batter that has struck out tonight. Edgett has a pair of strikeouts, and now Xavier Warren gets caught looking at strike 3. Phillips looks at a strike here to start him off against Henderson. An 0-1 count to the right fielder, who is 0 for 3. He does have an RBI on the ground out that brought in a run. He grounds one down to the third baseman, Russell. He'll go home. The play at home, Serfolio can't jump out of the tag. And a good throw by Michael Russell and a smart play to go home to get out number 2, pardon me.
Number 12, second baseman, Justin Graham.
So Phillips reaches on the infielder's choice, and there's runners at the corners with Ty Babin at third. And 2 gone here in the bottom half of the 6th. Justin Graham, the second baseman from Webster, New York, is back at the plate. Is 1 for 3. He's flown out his last 2 plate appearances. He had an RBI single his first time at the plate. The 1-0 misses outside. Jarrett Henderson, the right-hander from Suffolk, Virginia, plays at Norfolk State. He's making his 8th appearance of the year with Watertown. He gets his swing and a miss from Justin Graham. So it's 2 balls and 1 strike. Henderson, in his last outing, pitched 4 2/3 and gave up 4 earned runs on 6 hits. This one's in the dirt. Wilson keeps it in front of him. The runner will get to second, but more importantly, Ty Babin is held at third, as Wilson has been busy this inning behind home plate, as Henderson has tossed in a couple of wild pitches. Three-one count now to Justin Graham. Henderson, as Graham sends one high into center field. Neal tracking it back and able to make the catch. So the Pilots strand 2, but get 1 more as they extend their lead to 8-1. We'll head to the top of the 7th when we come back between the Rapids and the Pilots. Matt Walczak will return on the mound for the 7th inning, as his Pilots have given him some good run support tonight as they lead the Watertown Rapids 8-1. Walczak has only given up 4 hits and 1 earned run in the 6 innings of work he's had to this point. And Pilots have countered that with 14 hits of their own. Pilots with the only 2 errors of this game, but they haven't come back to hurt them.
Now batting out of Cincinnati, Ohio. Number 10, second baseman.
It's Trevor Kunsel who will lead things off in the top half of the 7th. And for Watertown, it was the 12-6 win last night that snapped a 6-game skid. They are 2-8 in their last 10, however. As Kunsel smacks one high in the air in the left. Shallow left as Edgett is able to get underneath it for out number 1. Watertown led for the majority of this season, but we turn the calendar over to July, and Mohawk Valley has gotten very hot. The Diamond Dogs sitting at 19-10 with a 3.5-game cushion in the Central Division, a 4-game win streak of their own, and 8-2 in their last 10. And in the Western Division, if you've been watching the Pilots of late, Jamestown, they are the team to beat, 20-8 on the year, the first team to 20 wins in the Perfect Game League. And they are 8.5 games clear of both Geneva and Elmira. Newark looking for their 9th win of the year as they sit at 8-19 on the year. Neal hits one high and foul. Babin throws the mask off and is able to make the catch for out number 2 in foul territory.
Now batting of Middletown, Delaware. Number 9, left fielder, Julian Courage.
Top of the order for the Rapids, as really just haven't been able to get the base runners they need. Their 1 run came with 2 outs back in the top of the 2nd, but they've been trailing pretty much since the beginning of this game. Courage is hit with the first pitch he sees from Walczak, and so Walczak hits his first batter of the night, and it allows Julian Courage to get on base for the 3rd straight time. He was able to reach on an error his 2nd plate appearance and then had a single last time up. Brings the shortstop Huritzen back to the plate. He reached on a walk last time up, and it's ball 1 just outside from Matt Walczak. As we mentioned, Walczak went 7 innings in his last start for Newark. This one has been a much more clean slate, however, as Huritzen fouls one off the top of the bat to move the count to even at 1-1. Walczak ready to go with the 1-1 as Huritzen off the top of the bat, high and foul, but out of play. And so Walczak gets himself ahead of the count 1-2. For Matt Walczak, he's staring down his strongest start of the year as Huritzen sends one into right, and it will fall fair. Phillips grabs it with the bare hand off the hop. Good play by Ricky Phillips as he keeps the runner at 3rd with Courage, but it's a double for Huritzen with 2 gone. Rapids trying to cut into that Pilots lead. As we play on here in the top of the 7th, there's 2 gone, and it's the 5th hit of the evening for Watertown. Huritzen now 1 for 3 in the evening with the double. And it brings Russell back to the plate. He was grounded out into a double play as a foul tip right into the glove of Babin goes for strike 1 of the 3rd baseman. Russell was not happy with the call as he was thrown out in the double play ball. And as a breaking ball catches the corner as he's quickly behind 0-2. Runners at 2nd and 3rd here for Watertown. Walczak looking for the final out of the inning. Russell sends one up the middle, and it's going to bring home a run. And it's going to allow another run to come as Huritzen touches home, and the Watertown Rapids have gotten 2 here, all coming out with 2 gone here in the top of the 7th, and it's an 8-3 ball game.
Number 4, designated hitter, Kenny Bergman.
This all comes off a Walczak hitting a batter with 2 gone. And it was Courage who came around to score along with Uritzen. So Russell picks up a pair of RBIs. Big cut from the DH Bergman for strike 1. Bergman looks at ball 1 from Walczak, and so Matt Walczak probably a little deflating for him. Is he thought he had himself another clean inning of work as he misses with this one in the dirt. It was 4 straight innings without giving a run. The only one for Watertown coming back in the second before the 2 RBIs that Russell drives in to make it an 8-3 ball game here. 2-1 count to Bergman. He holds off on one in the dirt. It's a hitter's count at 3-1 now. The DH Bergman is 1 for 3. Had a single in his second plate appearance. Bergman hits one in the left and has himself a base hit, and the inning continues for Watertown.
Now batting out of Atlanta, Georgia, number 13, the catcher, Nolan Wilson.
And Matt Colbert will make the trip out to the mound, and I would suspect Matt Walczak's night may be over. Rapids have started to get to Walczak here with 2 gone. Colbert will chat things over, and Walczak will probably try to negotiate with Colbert to try and get the final out of the inning. As there's runners on first and second. Pilots still up by 5 as they lead 8-3. They've double up now. The Rapids in the hit count with 14. Rapids have got a couple here in the top half of the 7th to get up to 7 hits. Walczak will remain in the game to try to pitch his way out of the inning as he's given up 2 here in the top of the 7th. Still looking for that final out, and it's the catcher Nolan Wilson back at the plate. Wilson from Atlanta, Georgia. He redshirted this past season with Virginia Tech. And so his college career has yet to really begin. 1-0 count with Walczak missing with the first pitch. Gets a breaking ball to fall in as Wilson looks at it for strike 1. Wilson is 0 for 3, has flown out all 3 plate appearances tonight. Walczak to check up the second, and now the delivery. Breaking ball in on the hands, and it falls for strike 2. And so it's a 1-2 count, pardon me, to Nolan Wilson. He tries to keep the inning going here for Watertown. Runners on first and second. Walczak with the 1-2 offering. It's low as Babin couldn't hold it. So the count goes even at 2-2. Pilots will remain home as the Utica Blue Sox will come to town tomorrow for a 7:05 first pitch right here at Colburn Park.
Yes.
This one's inside, and Wilson didn't go. I'm going to say he didn't go, but I can't believe it. Ty Babin had the mask off and was heading down to the dugout. But Nolan Wilson is able to hold off, and so the count runs full with 2 gone. Walczak thought he had the final out there for a second, but from the stretch, he'll offer the payoff. Runners are going, and it's a 2-out walk now, and it loads the bases, and now Colbert will make a second plate appearance, and Matt Walczak's night is done. And so a tough way for Matt Walczak to come out of the game and what looked like he had the final out of the inning. But he gives up 2 here in the top of the 7th and leads the game with giving up 3 earned runs and 7 hits. He's in line for the win. as the Pilots lead 8-3. It'll be Brandon Odenhall who will come on in relief. He'll warm up, and we'll be right back here at Colburn Park. Dan Cooter here on Newark Pilots TV as we welcome you back into Colburn Park. The Watertown Rapids have cut into the Pilots' lead with a pair of runs here in the top of the seventh. All of it coming with 2 outs, and so Matt Walczak reluctantly has to exit the game. And it's Brandon Odenhall who will try to come in and get the final out that eluded Walczak after retiring the 8-9 batters with 2 flyouts. The Rapids head to the top of the order and were able to do some damage. The bases are loaded here for Watertown. This one's in the dirt. Babin has to snare the glove and keep it in front of him. Bailey Lewis, back at the plate for the 4th time, has been walked twice. It's a 1-0 count after the ball in the dirt from Odenhall. Odenhall, this one chopped down to Warren. Warren will toss it to second to Graham. And so the Rapids strand 3, and Odenhall is able to limit the damage here in the top of the 7th. Pilots lead 8-3. We'll stretch it out here at Colburn Park and be right back on Newark Pilots TV. It's Stephen Edgett to lead things off in the bottom half of the 7th as the Rapids were able to get 2 back in the top half. And it's an 8-3 ball game here at Colburn Park. Edgett was hit by a pitch his last time up. And it's a new pitcher on the mound for Watertown. It's David Marmon, the right-hander from Jericho, New York. And he'll try to turn around what has been a woeful couple of starts on the mound for him in recent memory. Just 2 nights ago in a 14-3 loss to Mohawk Valley, he made it through 2/3 of an inning, giving up 7 earned runs on 6 hits. He'll try to change his fortune tonight, but he started Edgett off with 3 straight balls. Marmon trying to get an ERA down that is upwards of 15. And he starts him off with 4 straight balls.
Number 2, center fielder, Parker Tadlock.
Rapids infielders will take a couple of steps forward with the speedy Tadlock up at the plate. And a bunt situation now for Newark with none gone. Yeah, the leadoff man is walked. Tadlock 3 for 4, 2 for 3, pardon me, on the night. He flew out his last time up. He won't show bunt here, and Marmon is able to get a strike to fall. Marmon, who plays at LIU post, stands at 6'1", 150 on the mound. Marmon the check down to first, and now the 0-1 offering. In the knees for strike 2, and he gets ahead of the count 0-2. And so after tossing in 4 straight balls to Stephen Edgett, he's able to get a pair of strikes called to get Tadlock in an 0-2 hole. It's the 9th appearance of the year for David Marmon. As Tadlock grounds one to the third baseman, Russell. He'll have to go to first. And good stretch by Bosma to make the catch for out number 1.
Of Tampa Bay, Florida. Number 31, first baseman, Jared DeSantolo.
So Tadlock does advance the runner to second as Edgett is in scoring position, with Russell having to go down to first with Edgett there in time. And it brings Jared DeSantolo back to the plate. He swings at 1 and sends it foul down the third baseline for strike 1. DeSantolo is 3 for 4 on the night. He had 3 singles before grounding out his last time at the plate. Big nights for Alan Murphy, who is 3 for 3 with an RBI. And Ty Babin, who is 3 for 4 with 4 RBIs. 14 hits for the Pilots, 8 for the Rapids as a bullpen ball comes swinging through right past home plate. So they'll take care of that. And it's a 1-1 count as DeSantolo strides back into the batter's box. Edgett in scoring position with 1 gone. Just outside as McLaughlin calls ball 2. McLaughlin seems to be okay since taking that knock to the knee on a pitch that bounced off a home plate. And you could hear him as that one caught the protective guarding. Big swing and a miss from DeSantolo. I would assume that McLaughlin has some shin pads similar to hockey shin pads on those knees to keep him safe, and they did their job there, it seems. As after the swing and miss, it's a 2-2 count to the first baseman from Tampa, Florida, trying to advance Edgett over at second with 1 gone here in the bottom half of the 7th. Thank you, sir. DeSantolo holds off on 1 high as the count runs full here for David Marmon. Marmon gets the signal from Wilson and is ready to go with the payoff. A peek down to second. Now the delivery. Swung on by DeSantolo. High in the air to right. Chasing it is Neal. He's able to make the catch. Edgett will tag, and he will advance to third.
Now batting.
So Neal able to track and make the catch for out number 2.
Alan Murphy.
And it brings up none other than the DH, Alan Murphy, to try and extend the Pilots' lead. As we mentioned, he is 3 for 3. Had an RBI single his 3rd time up, and then a double to lead off the 6th inning. As he swings at this one and fouls it off for strike 1. Alan Murphy, we've seen him make a handful of starts on the mound for this Pilots pitching staff. He's been in right field a couple of times, but primarily a DH, and now the ball gets away, but Edgett elects to stay at 3rd as Wilton chases it down and Marmon comes home to protect home plate. Marmon seemed to be in a lot more of a hurry than Edgett was, as Edgett stayed put on 3rd. Marmon thought he was going to come, but did not. Murphy smacks one up the center. The play from the shortstop, Kunzel, is in time. No, it's not. And an RBI for Murphy as Edgett comes home to score.
Now batting.
And I think Kunzel thought that Marmon was going to make a play on it, but it seemed as though Marmon let it go through the mound and made it very difficult on his second baseman, Kunzel. And the throw was not in time, and so Murphy is safe on first with 2 gone. The Pilots back up now. They get a run back and lead 9-3. So the leadoff walk comes back to hurt Marmon as Edgett comes across to score. Matt Cerfolio able to reach on a walk his last plate appearance. Has flown out 3 times tonight. The 3rd baseman from Indian Springs, Alabama, has been solid down at 3rd tonight for the Pilots. Marmon misses outside. So it's 3 straight balls to start off Matt Cerfolio. We saw the Rapids get 2, all coming with 2 gone. And the top half of the 7th. Pilots have returned the favor with a run here in the bottom half of the 7th, and that's 4 straight balls, whether Cerfolio knows it or not. And for the 2nd straight plate appearance, he is walked.
Now batting out of Jackson, New Jersey, number 16, the catcher, Ty Babbitt.
For David Marmon, he had issued 10 walks coming into tonight's game. He's given up 2 here. In the innings he has pitched, it was Dylan Wilkinson who didn't make it into the 3rd inning as he gave up 6 earned runs in 2 innings of work. Jarrett Henderson came on for him and was relatively strong. David Marmon has given up a run here, the bottom of the 7th, to extend the Pilots' lead. It's a 6-run lead at that. They lead the Watertown Rapids 9-3. 2 gone for Ty Babbitt, who has had a strong night to play 4 RBIs, as we mentioned. He followed this one off and 0-2. Runners on first and second for the Pilots. Babbitt will look to extend the inning. Marmon ready to go with the 0-2. Fouled off the bottom of the bat by Babbitt, and he barely stays alive. As we mentioned, Pilots right back at home tomorrow night when the Utica Blue Sox come to town for the only meeting of the year between the 2 teams. And then it's all Western Division games from there on out. All besides what I'm remembering, a doubleheader here at Colburn Park with Albany, and a game that was rained out earlier in the year. Mother Nature has played nice of lately, however. It's a 2-2 count now to Babin. He swings and misses, and so the Pilots strand 2 as Marmon gets the strikeout. They add another run, however, and lead 9-3 as we head to the top of the 8th. Watertown running out of time here at Colburn Park to try and come back. They trail the Pilots 9-3 as we begin the top of the 8th. Brandon Odenhall, after getting the final out of the inning, back in the top of the 7th, is back on the mound for Newark. The right-hander from Fenton, Missouri, makes his 7th appearance of the year, has a 4.82 ERA, and has pitched 9 1/3 inning coming into tonight. That's up to 9 2/3 now. And there's 11 strikeouts, has issued 10 walks and given up 6 hits. His last appearance came back on the 4th of July in the 12-3 loss to Elmira, in which he pitched 1 1/3, and this one catches Nick Bosma hard as he fouled it off, and I think that caught him where you don't want it to catch you. Now, funny story, this happened to me once, and I wish nothing on him to ever happen to him. It's not fun. It involved a hospital trip. It wasn't good. Yeah. It was not good. It was not pretty, and I believe that's what's happened. Exactly. What can the trainer do? There's nothing they can do, especially because it's a woman. that too. As much as you think you could shake off one of those injuries, you just can't. You can't walk it off. He'll try, and we'll see if he's all right. But yeah, exactly. It brings some haunted memories back for me. It was not fun. It was a hockey puck from about 3 feet away, and so I feel for Nick Bosma right now, to say the least. And the worst part about it is it's strike one. And so it's an 0-1 count to Bosma now. He has been strong at the plate tonight, as he is 2 for 3, has an RBI, and grounded out his last plate appearance. So after the brief delay, and now he's got to get out of the way of that one, as a breaking ball didn't come around. Bosma able to duck out of the Odenhall breaking ball. So it's a 1-1 count to Nick Bosma. Bosma, the first baseman tonight from Overland Park, Kansas. This one off the top of the bat. And Odenhall gets ahead in the count 1-2 now. Bosma, the leadoff man here in the top of the 8th. The breaking ball hits him right in the back. And Bosma not happy about that one, but he will get the free pass. So an interesting at-bat for Nick Bosma leads to a walk, or a hit by pitch, pardon me. And he is aboard to lead things off here in the top of the 8th. The second baseman, Trevor Kunsel, will now come back to the plate. Has struggled tonight, 0 for 3 with 3 flyouts. And he holds off of this one. He swung on the first pitch he's seen all 3 of his plate appearances. That changes here, though, as he looks at ball 1 from Odenhall. 1-0. That one right up the head of Babin. It's been a scary night at the plate. McLaughlin took one to the knee. We just saw Nick Bosma get one in a bad area. And now Ty Babin takes one right off the noggin. 1-1 count after the foul ball. And in the hands. And fouled off by Kunsel. As Odenhall gets himself ahead in the count 1-2. Trevor Kunsel plays at George Washington from Cincinnati, Ohio. Ready with the 1-2 as Odenhall delivers from the stretch. Swung on and missed as the foul tip right into the glove of Babin for out number 1.
Now batting out of Southfield, Virginia, number 12, left fielder, Samuel.
Someone else who's been struggling at the plate, Samuel Neal, is hitless in his last 7 and has flown out twice and grounded out once as well, as he's 0 for 3. He has that open stance, batting from the left side of the plate. And he holds off on a fastball that's high and outside from Odenhall. Odenhall, who plays at Maryville, stands at 6'4", 210 on the mound. A big guy from Fenton, Missouri. Takes a peek at Bosma at first. Now the delivery. It's inside for strike 1 as Neal laid off all the way. Samuel Neal, the center fielder from Smithfield, Virginia, plays at Case Western Reserve, where he batted .271 this past year and had 45 hits and 166 at-bats. He fouls this one off the top of the bat and gets behind the count 1-2 now. For Neal, I would think he'll try to get on base any way he can. He'll jump in front of a pitch if he has to at this point. But it's a 1-2 count off the bottom of the barrel and just foul. So he stays alive for the time being. Top of the order after Neal, as there's one gone here in the top of the 8th. Pilots lead 9-3, backed by 6 runs that they got in the first 2 innings of this one. Breaking ball. Neal does a good job to lay off as it was in the dirt. Babin keeps it in front of him, and the count goes to 2-2. As Odenhall hit the leadoff batter, Nick Bosma, to start things off here in the top of the 8th. Only 2 errors in this one, both of the Pilots, back-to-back, as we mentioned earlier. McLaughlin calls for a couple of new balls after that one goes foul from Neal. It's an even count at 2-2. Watertown in their inaugural season here in the Perfect Game League. Trying to pick up their 17th win of the year. They'll have to rally here in this one. Neal smacks one into right, and the hitless streak is over. And a sigh of relief, and he could get that monkey off his back. As it's a 1-out single, which advances Bosma to second.
Number 9, left fielder, Julian Courage.
So now the top of the order for the Rapids with the left fielder Courage back at the plate. He was hit by a pitch and came around to score his last time up. It's at ball 1 outside from Brandon Odenhall. And for the Pilots, you hold your breath right now as the Rapids torched the Newark bullpen last night after Matt Seaman gave up 3 earned runs. That one seemed to hit Courage.
Now batting.
Couldn't really see it from our vantage point.
Number 6, shortstop, William Harrison.
But the bases are loaded with Harrington at the plate. And with one gone, Watertown, a glorious chance here in the top of the 8th to try and rally after the second batter, Odenhall, is hit in this inning, and now he throws one high and tight as Hertzen slips out of the way for ball 1. Second straight time now, Courage has been hit by a pitch. Goes with the breaking ball, and it's well high for ball 2. For the Pilots, it was Ryan Marketel who pitched 1 inning and gave up 3 earned runs. And then Tesco came in, gave up 3 more. And then Chad Nelson gave up 3 as well. And so this bullpen, a little bit shaky in their trust factor after last night, as Matt Seaman pitched 5 innings and gave up 3 earned runs on 6 hits. And now Odenhall is in jeopardy of walking in a run after tossing in 3 straight balls to the shortstop, Hiriton. Hiriton had a double his last time up and came around to score. Odenhall finds the strike zone here. So move to count to 3-1. With 1 gone here in the top of the 8th, the base is loaded for Watertown. They trail 9-3. 3-1 is away, and it walks in a run. And Colbert is going to make the signal, and that's it for Odenhall.
Staten Island, New York. Number 32, third baseman, Michael Russell.
So Odenhall's night is over, and it's Ryan Wynn who will try to limit the damage here in the top of the 8th. As the Pilots now have a 9-4 lead, and with the bases loaded and 1 gone, Watertown threatening to get more. Ryan Wynn, the right-hander from Webster, New York, plays at Bowdoin College. Got a chance to talk to him before the game today. Went to prep school with Ryan. Been good friends for a couple of years now, and Ryan pitched in Jamestown a couple nights ago. He said he had to grind in that one. Jamestown, as he said, a very good team, and it shows with their 20 wins on the season. So it was Matt Walczak who started off the game. He couldn't get out of the 7th inning before giving up 2 runs. He ended up exiting the game, giving up 3 earned runs. And now Brandon Odenhall, who has just been relieved by Ryan Wynn. It's not an earned run, but he walks in one. It's a 9-4 ball game now. With the bases loaded, Ryan Wynn will try to get the Pilots out of the inning. Newark out hitting Watertown 15-9 tonight as they try to pay the favor back to Watertown after the Rapids doubled up the Pilots 12-6 last night as they out hit Newark 15-12. And it was a strong last couple of innings from Watertown. As we mentioned, they scored 2 in the 5th and then added 3 in all 6, 7, and 8 innings to tally up 12 runs. And they'll try to continue the hot streak in the late innings here, as it's the third baseman, Russell. He had 2 RBIs his last plate appearance. So for Watertown, right in this girth of the order, the man you want up. He leads the team in RBIs with 22 after the 2 he had in his last plate appearance. With bases loaded and 1 gone, Ryan Wynn ready to go. Misses with ball 1, low and outside. One 1-0 count. Wynn gets the signal from Ty Babin. and is ready to go from the stretch now. In the dirt, Babin has to get down on both knees to keep it in front of him. For Ryan Wynn, it's his 9th appearance of the year with Newark. His 7th, or his 8th relief. It's a 6.48 ERA. Throws one in on the hands, and a swing and a miss from Russell gets the count to 2 balls and 1 strike. Wynn has given up 11 earned runs in his last 2 appearances, and so he's looking to get back on track. As in his last 5 before that, didn't give up any earned runs. Tosses in a ball low. As this Pilots pitching staff in jeopardy of walking in yet another run. And getting it into striking distances, the Rapids trail 9-4. Here's the 3-1. On the hands and popped up high in the air. Wynn calls it out and gets out of the way. And Graham is able to make the catch for out number 2.
Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Number 4, designated hitter, Kenny Bergman.
That one skied in the air by Russell, but Graham is underneath it to make the catch for out 2. A big one as the bases remain loaded. And the DH, Bergman, is back to the plate. Bergman is 2 for 4 on the evening. Big swooping breaking ball from Wynn. Finds the strike zone for strike 1. Kenny Bergman from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, plays at the University of Connecticut, otherwise known as UConn. And now he pops one high in the air. In foul territory, Serfolio's tracking it. And he's able to make the catch for out 3. So Ryan Wynn does his job and strands the bases loaded here in the top of the 8th. The Rapids do get one back, but they still trail the Pilots 9-4 as we head to the bottom half of the 8th.
Now going to the bottom.
So the Rapids do get one in the top of the 8th, but Ryan Wynn does his job coming on in relief as he gets 2 pop flies to leave the bases loaded for Watertown. As they'll think about what could have been there. As they trail 9-4. They could have driven in a couple of runs there. It could have sparked the offense for Watertown, but it stalls out. And it's Xavier Warren, the shortstop, who lead things off here in the bottom half of the 8th. It'll be the 5, 6, 7 batters for the Rapids when they're down to their final 3 outs when we head to the top of the 9th. Warren looks at strike 1 from David Marmon, who continues on the mound for Watertown. He gave up 1 run in the bottom half of the 7th. Fastball misses low for ball 3, and so it's a hitter's count for Warren at 3-1. Xavier Warren, who has been primarily down at shortstop, can actually play catcher as well, and caught a couple times with his college team at Central Michigan. And you see him out there sometimes catching the balls when the pitchers are warming up between innings. If a catcher needs to put on his equipment, you'll see him out there sometimes. And there's also a switch hitter as he looks at ball 4 in the dirt. Warren takes a peek just to see if Wilson's tracking it. And he is. And so Warren gets the free pass to lead things off in the bottom half of the 8th. Ricky Phillips, 0 for 4 in the evening, chops one down to Kunsel. Kunsel goes to second with it, and there won't be a time for a double play ball, but they do get the out at second.
Now batting out of Western New York, number 12, second baseman, Justin Graham.
Justin Graham has flown out his last 3 plate appearances since the RBI single when he came up the bat way back in the bottom half of the 1st. And I would assume that head coach Dave Anderson is talking about runner's interference probably. And I don't know if he's going to be able to win this fight, but we've seen it a couple times with runner's interference here. That wouldn't be the first. Now, aren't you supposed to slide? Isn't that a rule? I saw that in the majors where they call the guy out because he didn't slide in. He wasn't in the way, but he didn't slide, and so they counted it as runner's interference.
They have to make sure they slide.
Yeah, into the base too. Yeah, that as well. Yeah. And so after the discussion, there is no runner's interference, so Warren is safe at first. Justin Graham, the second baseman from Webster, New York, is ready to go with his 5th plate appearance of the night. Merman gets a fastball to fall in at the knees for strike 1. It's a 1-1 count to Graham now. Graham swings on this one and fouls it down the third baseline, right into the Rapids bullpen for strike 2. Justin Graham was batting .250 coming into tonight, making his 20th appearance of the year with Newark. 17 hits and 68 at-bats. And he swings at strike 3. It's fouled right into the glove of Wilson. And so there's 2 gone with Steven Edgett back at the plate now. Edgett, the left fielder, also from Webster, New York, reached on a walk and came around to score his last time up. This one in on the hands as Edgett is able to get out of the way for ball 1. Edgett, big swing and a miss at this one as he goes around to move the count to 1-1. Edgett hits one high in the air into the night sky. 3 infielders come together, but it's the shortstop Herten, that makes the play for out number 3. And so the Rapids, down to their final 3 outs, will try to make some magic happen. They trail 9-4, and we'll head to the top of the 9th right after this.
Now 13, the catcher, Nolan Wilson.
The 5, 6, 7 hitters for the Rapids will try to keep things alive here for Watertown. In the top of the ninth, they trail the Pilots 9-4, being out hit 15-9. And it's the right-hander Ryan Wynn who got those big 2 outs with the bases loaded in the top half of the eighth, who will try to close things out here for Newark and pick up their 9th win of the year. Newark, in what has been a struggling season for them, don't have back-to-back wins at all this 2018 season. If they can hang on to win tonight, they could try against Utica here at Colburn Park tomorrow night for their first back-to-back wins of the season. It's a 1-2 count to the catcher, Nolan Wilson. Wilson 0 for 3 on the evening. Breaking ball, just can't hang on the top half of the plate. Enough as McLaughlin calls ball 2 and moves the count to 2-2. Wilson was able to reach on a walk his last plate appearance. And Wynn is into the windup with the 2-2 offering. Hit into right center, charging back, and able to make the catch is Tadlock for out number 1.
Now batting out of Matthews, North Carolina, number 1, right fielder, Bailey Lewis.
It's the 4th fly out of the night for the catcher from Atlanta, Georgia. And with 1 gone, it's the right fielder, Bailey Lewis. Wynn goes with the sidearm action. Lewis not falling for it. This is inside for ball 1. Wynn ready to go with the 1-0. He gets this one on the inside corner. Evens the count up at 1-1. Ryan Wynn trying to conclude a night that would see Matt Walczak pick up the win. He tosses one in the dirt for ball 2 here. Walczak, it was a strong appearance for him. And then Brandon Odenhall came on next. Followed by this man on the mound now, Ryan Wynn. 2-1. In the hands. And Lewis holds off for ball 3. The last thing Ryan Wynn wants to do is walk any sort of batter. Here in the top of the 9th. He's ready to go with the 3-1. A swing and a miss from Lewis. And the count is full now. Good pitch there from Ryan Wynn as it was high in the zone. And Lewis, his eyes opened up and he went around and missed. And so ready with the payoff. Big windup from Wynn. And it's inside. And Lewis looks at strike 3, pardon me. In on the hands, and Lewis looked at it all the way, and there's 2 gone now here in the top of the 9th. And I think Lewis knew it. So he didn't chuck the bat. And so with the strikeout, Rapids down to their final out, and it's the first baseman, Nick Bosma, who will try to keep the game alive. Oh, and he ducks out of the way. Man, that kid has been taking balls everywhere. Got hit by a pitch his last time up. So a 1-0 count to Bosma. Been one of the stronger Rapids at the plate. He's 2 for 3 with an RBI to his name. And he pops one high in the air. Infielders charging in. Graham will call it off and make the catch for the final out of the ball game. A strong performance from Matt Walczak propels the Pilots to victory as they win 9-4 here at Colburn Park, out hitting the Rapids 15-9 as they capture the back end of the home and home here in the Watertown Rapids.
Tonight's final score is 9-4.
Fall in this one, and the Pilots pick up their 9th win of the campaign, and they'll be home tomorrow night as the Utica Blue Sox will come to town. We'll be live right here on NewarkPilots.tv. I'm Dan Cooter saying so long from Colburn Park. It's a Pilots victory tonight over the Watertown Rapids. and a goodbye from Newark Pilots TV.